It is sad truth that while large game developers keep releasing the same cookie cutter content for their player base, it is up to the indie devs to bring us IPs and ideas that might not speak to the general gaming audience, but despite that we'll find a decent player base. And if these games combine concepts of already pre-existing franchises or just take the good mechanics from multiple games and combine them into one bundle, we might get a result like Steam World Build. A game which combines city builder and resource management like the Anno franchise and the dungeon management like Dungeon Keeper or Dungeons franchise, creating an entertaining and balanced experience which leads us to surprisingly easy to learn mechanics and lots of hours trying to spend by mastering the ultimate city layout for those who want to achieve that perfect satisfaction rate or outreach of service buildings. Despite the fact that the game was released at the start of December, I had the pleasant experience of playing through the demo when it was released on Steam, giving me a nice idea of what is to come. It is unfortunate that the demo was removed from both Steam and Epic Store, as I do believe demos can be a more effective way for people to find out if they will want to purchase the game rather than buying it, playing less than 2 hours, and based on that deciding if they will keep it or refund it. But for the asking price of $29.99, you will certainly get a quality experience, as to clear out just the first game scenario, I had to spend 8 hours in that game, and with 4 more scenarios to go, you will get far more game time than the new Call of Duty campaign, but you do not need Kratos himself during the Game Awards to tell you that, but you will certainly need to make sure that you will provide your steambots with all that they need in order to be happy and productive. This leads us to the game loop, which consists primarily of blending the previously two mentioned genres into a fluid experience, as the two are dependent on one another. If you want to go mining, you need to make sure everything on the surface is running smoothly, and as your population reaches the next stage, their needs evolve, and so you do need to supply the surface with resources acquired underground. This means that you will need to have different classes of robots there as well, as each is fulfilling a different role, and because you have only 4, from basic workers to engineers to the fancy bots all the way to the scientists, each gradually needing more and more lavish commodities, while in the mines your miners will do the digging, prospectors will do the mining, engineers will construct mining buildings or devices, and heal fallen gunbots, which is the last class of your robots in the mines. But as it goes with the indie games, they might not be able to compete with bigger franchises because of budget restrictions, which is where I believe the shortcoming with the story lies. I do not want to spoil it too much for you in case you want to experience the game by yourself, but the premise is that something is wrong with the Earth, and the steambots believe that they can get off the rock by coming across buried technology and constructing a rocket to get off the planet. This is nicely executed in the first scenario, however at the climax of the story, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, which makes me wonder if they will later release more scenarios to expand the story, or if they will go by the paid DLC route to do so, because they want more of those cutscenes and voice acting, which can burn through a lot of their budget when developing the game. This can also lead to feeling of repetitiveness for you the player, as once you play through one of the scenarios you feel like you have played through all of them, just with a different variation of maps to explore. You build a city on the surface and you dig deep to collect the rocket pieces while managing your supply chains, which get more and more complex over time. As you unlock these chains and different population classes, you are able to dig through harder rocks, gaining access to new regions underground, coming across more resources which you need to keep the supply chain working, all while managing your taxes to stay profitable and building up defenses to keep away the never-ending waves of more and more dangerous enemies. But on the other hand, the fact that you have the option to switch the scenario from the surface to the mine, or the other way around, gives you that necessary time to develop what buildings or robots you need for the next big job, and therefore it's not just you sitting and staring at the screen being bored out of your mind, but being busy and planning your next steps, which is where the game truly shines. Which kind of depends on also your personal skills, as in your first playthrough you might come across certain bottlenecks where you will have to rely on either killing the time in the mines or utilizing trade to obtain more money, as upgrading a house can go from 2,000 to 5,000 all the way to 15,000, which cannot be done on a greater scale, which means that players will need to pace themselves and think ahead that the limitation of a budget might be more appropriately spent on a short-term goal to benefit you in the long term. Do you build that one building to increase the production, making sure you do not go into the negative? Or do you build a service building, therefore increasing the overall happiness of certain population class, increasing your overall income, creating a shorter waiting time for that next building which you want to build? Thanks to the increased taxes, which I know a lot of us might struggle with lately as the economy is not as simple as in the game, but you do not need a lot to run the game, as all you need is some coal, which hopefully if you were naughty all year is around the corner before Christmas, as even laptops with basic specs will run the game. Which is another nice thing about the indie games, as this can be a pleasant addition to your Steam library, especially if you want to have a completion on 100%. But you do not want to grind through all of those 255 achievements on Age of Empires 2 Definite Edition. And with the upcoming Christmas Steam sale, I believe there will be another discount applied to the game, as even during its launch I was able to get it for only $26.99. I know, I only had to sell a half of one kidney. But overall, with the pleasant atmosphere, the funny graphics of how the building blueprint jiggles while you're trying to put it in a place, and a pleasant loop which will keep you occupied either due to building up a supply line, to defending your mine from the enemy waves, this game is a very pleasant experience, and I believe if more content in relation to the story would be added, that would make for one hell of a great RTS / Dungeon Keeper / City Management edition to your Steam, GOG, or even Epic Store game library. And yes, I looked it up and the prices on all three of them are the same. I would rate the game at 8 out of 10. There is still room for improvement, but what the game provides is running smoothly, it's well calibrated, and will definitely keep you well entertained during the duration. If you have only half an hour, you can jump in, do what you can do in that limited time, and then pop out. You do not need to dedicate 2 hours in order to complete a scenario, nothing like that. So you are able to enjoy the game at your own pace. So what? The video is over. You can either go check out my 100 Days in a Video Game series or some of the other content on the channel. I promise I have other stuff besides Dave the Diver and Stardew Valley on here. I need the views, and if you can let me know what games you are currently enjoying in your spare time, I would really appreciate that. Bye!